to control energy flow. They do it better than anything anyone's ever seen. Many of the foreign policy people, like in other countries, just sit in awe of what they've been able to do from nothing. But you got to remember that race is real and these things matter. If you have a homogenous decision-making authority and you don't have all that baggage, it's like Anglospheres walking around. You're walking around with a bunch of Mexicans on your shoulder, a bunch of Africans on their shoulder, all these neocons on their shoulder, and it just weighs you down. And every time we move, we got to move. If we have to move into Korea, all someone has to do is flick a switch there, and we got to move 100. It's just impossible to do. It's a pain. It is hard. It's hard work. The British Empire didn't have all these problems because they didn't have any, they had all these guys thinking, the English thinking they were near gods. Now they've been reduced to serfs, but they had them thinking at the time that they were gods and they would just ship them around and, glory to the king and whatnot. Now, of course, they're learning the game. Yeah, these people aren't as nice as you thought. But I just wanted to talk about Russian and controlling energy. It's a very important topic for you to understand. And that's how our talking points work. That's how the mantra works. You're constantly in an offensive state. And if you're a revolutionary and you're looking to do something stupid, well, it's not that game. That this isn't the War of the Flea yet. But even if you are a violent revolutionary, you can't be looking to do anything stupid. I mean, you can't be looking to shoot up the local police department. That's not revolutionary type thinking. That's bonehead. You're a dumb animal. I mean, basically, you're letting someone else, you're going to die or you're going to go to jail forever, and someone else is going to use that energy to do who knows what. You're not doing anything good for your race. No, you're not. On top of that, you're not learning the game in front of you. But that's why we're here, to give you a walkthrough on how this stuff works. But it's every bit, these talking points we're giving you are every bit more ruthless than grenade launchers. Big governments have been brought down with simple slogans. Believe it or not, whole campaigns have been won like that. That's how this stuff works. Sound is deadly. Sound is ruthless. And a network moving at you is even more ruthless because there's no laws broken. There's nothing against the law against the network taking something over. There's nothing we can do about it. They don't like it. You don't like the fact that neocons took over the Republican Party with a bunch of pseudo-communists, but it is what it is. There's nothing illegal about it. Take it back. Learn the tactics, techniques, take it back. But you can isolate your enemy right now. You can isolate it. He cannot control the energy flow anymore. The lightning's getting out of the bottle. And all you need to do is stay on a consistent message and force the game. And the game will go in your favor one way, shape, manner, or form. Believe it. But that's what this is about. And this fourth MP3, the first four are critical because I'm setting things up. And if I mention Bob too much, that's because you're never going to find out about me. And even if you do find out about me, you're probably not going to find out anything that tells you anything anyways. That's the way this society works. I mean, if I found out about you, the odds of me finding out something interesting would probably be slim. So I trade on Bob's name, and I did that because it's his mantra, believe it or not. His life's work, he cares about little white rabbits. He cares about the indigenous white rabbits in Europe, and I'm doing this for Bob. And Bob, you can find out about Bob. You can say, okay, he knows the stuff, or he doesn't. You don't like him, or whatever. And so that's why I did that. When I go into the third and the fourth and the fifth position, the fourth position you'll get on bugs. The fifth position is mindset, at the end of wordism. Yeah, no isms at all in the fifth position. That's the ultimate Aryan mindset, in my opinion. It's beyond the third position. It's working out of all isms whatsoever. People call wordism Jewthink. Well, Judaism is just another wordism to me. Yes, it's just another ism, isn't it? If only we have to believe these words. Well, that's the recipe for disaster. That's the end of critical thought right there. But it is a mindset, and it is some of the old timers call it Jewthink, but again, it's much deeper than that. It's much deeper than that. Not all Jews are into Jewthink. Not all Jews are into wordism. Some are just little Europeans, whatever. Talmudism, well, Talmudism is also wordism, isn't it? Sure, it is. All we have to do is believe what the Talmud tells us. Capitalism, other wordism. Sure, it's all wordism, but And that's a subject I'm going to go into next on the fifth one. I'm going to go into our position, the fifth position, what I call it. These are my definitions. But if anything seems arrogant here, just blame Bob. When you go into the fourth position or the fifth position, or even if you're a third position, reading Bugs, reading his blog, trying to get in that state of mind, and you become arrogant, just blame Bob. Someone listened to one of my other MP3s, an associate, and she thought it was very funny that I said someone smart like me. I guess I said something like that. Well, that's not my fault. I just blame Bob. Bob makes people look. When you stick to the basics, believe it or not, and that's all someone like Bob teaches, because that's what works, and especially in this type of environment. You know, you constantly have to cater things for an environment, but it's the same old song. The only thing that changes are the lyrics. But when you stick to the basics, you'll look like a genius. Yeah, you'll look like you're way ahead of the time. How many of you saw the collapse coming? You were talking to your friends about these collapse and how this wasn't sustainable, and because of multiracialism and everything else, and now they're coming to you eating your carrots every day because you look like a genius. You stuck to the basics. Race is real and it matters. Multicultural, multiracial societies generally collapse, right? That's all the basics are. But many people, especially white guys and some white ladies, they won't stick to the basics because they want to make arguments. Well, arguments can work in a critical thinking society, but you're not in ancient Greece. This isn't Plato and Aristotle talking. This is a demoralized situation where you got to put down Lone Ranger and you got to stay on message, and you got to go over things over and over again because you have a brainwashed population. You have a brainwashed planet. And so that's one thing I would say. I'm not going to mention Bob so much anymore unless I have to, simply because I already made my points. Mentioning myself is kind of redundant because you're not going to find out anything, and that's kind of a waste of your time anyways. I'm just a voice here walking you through some things. Either you find it entertaining or you don't. I'm going to try to offer you a perspective that you've never heard or you're not hearing anywhere else, because if someone like me is going to talk, well, it's not going to be a waste of my time, and it's not going to be a waste of your time. If it's just like any other channel you're tuning into, well, then we're wasting our time, aren't we? You should be getting a perspective you're not getting somewhere else, or something at least intelligent. I'm going to talk about our race in ways you never heard, because I think that's something you need to hear. Now, some of the old timers like this stuff, some of them don't. I could get in trouble, believe it or not. I could probably get in more trouble for talking about religion or something else than anything else. But I'm going to go into some things that I think you need to know about. I'm going to talk about Godzilla. Godzilla, our green goddess. That sounds funny, but I'm going to talk about our race from a cosmic perspective and what we're going to be going through coming into 2012. And some of the stuff I at first doubted, but I don't really doubt so much anymore, because who knows what the truth really is. You know, we make the statement, I've always made the statement, race is real and it matters, but we're going to find out how real it really is. And that's a pretty trippy concept, and or how deep this rabbit hole really is. What is unique about us? Because it's not quantifiable on an IQ test. Sorry, it's not. It's not quantifiable. Our creativity is just not quantifiable. Our green goddess is not quantifiable, but yes, she is. I'm going to go into some of that stuff. In 1685, how it started and how it relates to 2012. It's some perspective that I became aware of a long time ago. I didn't take it real seriously, and over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I've taken it very, very seriously, because I see how this stuff works. But that's some stuff I'm going to go into. I thought maybe it'll entertain you. Maybe it'll give you a perspective you don't hear. After all, if I'm going to talk, I might as well give you a perspective. If you don't like it, you can turn it out, whatever. I mean, there's no PayPal links here. No one's charging you for anything. What I have to say, I'm doing it for the indigenous white rabbits of Europe. Yes. And of course, I'm going to talk about certain events. I'm going to talk about what's on my mind. The first 4 were critical because I wanted to introduce you to solid concepts. I wanted to introduce you to the basics. I wanted to get you interested, to get you things to say immediately to defend yourself that aren't illegal in any country anywhere. Yeah, well, I've got operatives right now that have looked at everything in Norway. They've looked at things in Sweden. They've looked, in other words, our talking points, and they're going to be coming out in other languages, and there's nothing in there illegal. Nothing in there illegal at all. Nothing that could trip you up. But that's where our game comes fun. When they start cracking down, it's going to get funny. Yeah, it'll get funny. But that's okay. But don't think that everything that affects you doesn't affect everybody else. It does. It does. Everything's connected on some level. But I will go into everything off the top of my head. I will go into things that I think you need to hear that you're not hearing anywhere else. And again, some of you may like it, some of you may not. If I talk too fast, I'll have to apologize for that. I've tried to slow it down a little bit, but someone like me has never been put on MP3 at all. I've never been put on WAV files. I've never been put on MP3. I've never been asked to go on record and be put across a website. It's pretty funny.